So today we're going to tackle the topic of running Rule 29 together.
Yeah.
The goods, the bads, some uglies.
Yeah. There were some uglies. Lots of good though.
Yeah, very much.
So where do you want to start?
Generally, the beginning's a good place to start.
Okay.
See what I did there?
This is how this is going to go.
Yeah.
Life isn't a sprint. It's a marathon. And along the way, we all stumble, learn, and keep going.
Welcome to Running Ahrens, a podcast about navigating marriage, parenting, business, faith, and all the unexpected detours that come along with it.
We're Justin and Sarah Ahrens, partners in life, business, and raising 4 incredible kids.
For over 30 years, we've been figuring things out as we go. Sometimes successfully, and sometimes, well, not so much.
But that's the beauty of hindsight. We're here to share the lessons we've learned, the wins, the failures, and the moments that have shaped us.
Through honest conversations, special guests, and maybe even a few stories from our kids, we'll explore what it really takes to grow, adapt, and move forward.
So whether you're running a business, a household, or just running late,
You're in the right place. Let's do this together.
we're glad you're here. Welcome to Running Ahrens.
You started Rule 29 in 2000. And I was naively cheering you on from the sidelines. I think we've told the story in an earlier episode that you came to me while I was still pregnant with Mackenzie and told me you really felt strongly it was time to start your own business, which you did on the side. It was a side gig.
Right. I had been working with someone I went to school with. We had talked about maybe making another run at it because I had been a partner in another company a few years before. And we had decided initially that starting a business while just getting a new home and about to have our first child was probably bad timing.
We decided that?
We talked about it, and then I came back after a meeting and said,
No, we're
let's
doing it.
scrap it. We're going to do it.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Do you remember how you felt after I told you that?
Honestly, this is the third business you started. And my dad was a business owner, so it wasn't completely foreign. And I probably was blissfully ignorant about really what it meant.
So as far as you can remember, you didn't have any concerns.
I think my only concern was, and not only, an initial concern was insurance, because I was working for my father, and the plan originally was for me not to go back to work. That was the plan, that I was going to stay home full time. And
Did you want to stay home full time?
I think I thought I did at that time.
Okay.
Remember I told you when we were dating that we shouldn't date any longer if you didn't fully support the fact that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom?
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah. You said that a couple times.
I don't know about a couple, but I said it enough to drive it home that I wasn't going to be pulling a fast one at some point.
It's true.
But I realized quickly that I was going to have to work for insurance if you were to go on it full time. But I think this happened, like, you didn't start it until January. This was in the fall.
Yeah, this is in May, right?
It was before you got your big bonus.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
From
my previous employer. Here we are, 25 years later. Do you know only 3% of businesses make it to 25 years? And 60% of married co-founders and 60% of married co-founders eventually take different paths. So the early years, we were hustling. Do you remember what was the early, let's say between 2000 and 2003, 2004, what were the hardest things then? Because we had brought 2 babies in the world and there was a third on its way.
You're skipping ahead. There was a lot of things. You're jumping. You're yachting a very good story. Or a complex story. The hardest part, and this is going to be a resounding theme, was instability of pay or instability. And it just wasn't on a rhythm. Payday would come around.
Instability of cash flow.
Instability of cash flow. That's right. And I would ask, can we cash your paycheck? And I was going to say 50-50. It was probably more 30-70 for the no. Or 30-70 for the yes. 70-30 for the no.
Yeah, I got you.
But so that was stressful. But I was so wrapped up in being a young mom and babe, I just don't remember having horrible anxiety, which looking back, I probably should have.
Yeah, you probably should have. Now, in hindsight, I will say, though, that what I appreciated is I felt your support. I felt the pressure. You didn't have to pressure me. I think that's one part of me that I've just always had ingrained is the drive to provide and be successful in what I was trying. So I never felt that. I absolutely felt times where a client would call or email and say, yeah, I didn't get that check in the mail, and it was no big deal for them, but it was huge for us.
And we also need to clarify for listeners, you didn't have two other failed businesses. You just started them and then different paths came across. It wasn't as if failure had ever happened before. So I didn't have this looming feeling of, oh, here we go again. It's not going to work. It always had worked. We just changed paths with the previous ones. So I never had the worry that it wasn't going to work. That I honestly never thought that. And we just trucked along.
Yeah, and then we hit a bit of a speed bump there in the early years.
Yeah. But obviously we were doing well enough because I stopped working when Jackson was born in 2002.
Yeah, and we had just bought a house.
No, we were living with my parents. We hadn't even figured it out yet. We had sold our house, living with our parents, used that time to pay off school loans, pay off cars before we bought the house.
And the story I'm telling is the day I came home.
Oh, that was in 2004, late 2003, like just November of 2003.
Yes, you do want to frame that up?
So it was the time of day that my sisters and I would call the Valley of the Shadow of Death, referencing Psalm 23. The time of night, especially in the winter here in the Midwest, where it's dark at 4 o'clock. I had 2 very small children. I believe Jackson was 1 and Kenzie was 3.5. And it was dinner time, it's mayhem. They're running around. I'm trying to cook. And those were the days I would be counting the minutes till you came home to either tap out or get assistance with what was going on.
And back then, what I would do is I would get home.
And you had a 45-minute commute.
Yeah.
To decompress.
Decompress.
Because I told you, the minute you walk in that door, daddy hat is on and work hat is gone.
That's right. And I wouldn't say all the time, but for a long time, I would help with the kids, dinner, obviously bathe them, hang out with them, play with them.
You could also put them to bed in record time.
Because I wanted to put them to bed to either hang out with you, or a lot of times I had to get back to work in those early days.
Very different than now, huh?
That's sarcasm, ladies and gentlemen. But this particular time, we had gone through just a realization that the partnership I had at the time we weren't aligned anymore. And we were going to go our separate ways. And I remember it had been really stressful. We had a ton of clients who said they were going to start work that didn't. We had some clients that were slow paying. We didn't really have a good system for cash flow. And at the same time, I felt like I was working incredibly hard all the time on projects and promoting and marketing us. And I came home, totally broke down, walked in the door and said, I just got informed that we're going to be sued.
And I followed that up with, that's perfect because I'm pregnant.
I remember we both started laugh crying.
Yeah. Again, looking back, there's moments that I feel like we should have been quite crushed.
Yeah.
But you in those days with little kids, you can't just knock yourself down and not give it up. Like you don't have the option.
Yeah. But I think for me, the reason that story stands out so much is you and I immediately became aligned again on just what was important, where we're going, what needed to happen. And I was ready to do whatever needed to be done to support the family. And that was humbling. And in hindsight, I see a bunch of mistakes that were made by me that I learned from. And after that, I brought the company into the house. I didn't tell anyone that.
You went, more importantly, you went and to your old employer and asked for your job back.
And I had said, here was my issue. I had to work out some of this debt from office and other things, and asked if I could work there. And through a series of things, they agreed. And
And we borrowed money from my sister.
Yeah, we borrowed money. And
we didn't steal. I was going to say we begged, borrowed, and steal. We just had really hard conversations with your landlord to get out of the lease and with people to buy back machinery and you going back and getting a job. And I talked to my sister about, and I think my dad even gave you a retainer for Rich Rap.
Yeah, I don't remember. That wouldn't surprise me. I do realize at the time that I was full of shame and disappointment, and the conversations I had with so many people were actually really incredible. We had our landlord that reduced our bill and let me trip.
Then your buddy got the other person off of the line of credit because that was the other hang up.
So we had a lot of people step in and take care of us, and it was really great. And I think another stat I found is 60% of couples in business together say dividing responsibilities is the key to long-term success, but 75% admit they still argue about it.
It's a funny stat.
It is. And I bring that up because one of the things that happened after that is I had gone to work for a client / old employer and realized pretty quickly that that wasn't the step I was supposed to take.
You were dying a slow death working there.
And what's crazy is the first week being there, my Rule29 voicemail was full of work.
Because you never announced to any clients that you were shutting down or closing or anything was changing. Clients had drifted away for whatever reason. So you didn't make a big formal announcement and you didn't keep marketing, but then they all started coming back.
Yeah. And the main reason I did that is because I had some debt from the old office and that sort of thing, and didn't know how long it was going to take to pay it off. At the time, it felt like an insurmountable amount of money. But what was really crazy is we paid that off in record time.
We paid my sister back a substantial chunk. And we're fast forwarding. You started working, you started getting some Rule29 work back on the side. So you were doing that in all the off hours. And then it just became too much. I called you at work one day and it was like talking to a ghost. You were so hollow. And I finally just told you, hey, I know this is killing you. You don't need to be there anymore. Let's just make a run at this. We'll figure it out.
And that was one of my favorite conversations we ever had. But what was one of the things that you created for me? And I think you had me sign it.
I did. And goodness gracious, today I took some time to look through my computer and I couldn't find it. But part of the reason I said you could, we discussed and agreed that you could start this is if you moved you operated out of the house. We had an unfinished concrete basement and you set up shop down there. But I said that I was going to take over the money because although you were probably capable of, that is not a good use of your genius. I'm better with numbers.
No argument.
And you could concentrate on the front of the house and I could concentrate on the back of the house. And there were some learning curves, and I remember I sent an invoice out with a typo on it, and you lost your marbles on me. You lost it.
Did I really?
You made me cry, and I don't cry ever.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, you gave me the whole, this is our brand. This is what the clients see us on an invoice. What are they going to think we do on a job? You drove it home. But now I would do the same thing to someone else who it worked for me and made a typo on an invoice. But now you've got spell check because you did all your invoices in freaking InDesign.
Yeah, it might have been even a different program.
Yeah, it might have been
Quark. Yeah.
But I made a contract for us to sign that had some they were all non-negotiable, either time dependent, and some of the things were my commitment of time, of how many days I would work, how many mornings, or I worked while the kids were in preschool. There would be one night a week that you would cook dinner so that I could work at night. You had to keep the business in the house for a year, no question. You had to do that. There was going to be no discussion about moving it out before that. I so wish I could find the other things. It'd be so entertaining.
Yeah, it would be entertaining.
I really thought I found. You know where? It's on the server.
Oh, there we go. I can find it.
Yeah,
We'll put it in the show notes. Another thing that was I'm really grateful for is, so much of our work we had done previous years was really solid. And we just took off in every aspect you could think of. How long was it before we had 3 or 4 people in the basement working?
I don't know if we ever got that high. We had you and Carrie.
A couple interns.
And interns. We had some interesting interns. There was this one, oh my gosh, so funny. I don't even know where you found her. She was very young and very inexperienced. And this was 03, 04, the time of very low-rise jeans.
Oh my gosh, you're going to tell the story?
I am.
Okay.
And she would sit in her chair and lean over, and her freaking thong would be outside of her jeans. It was a literal whale tail. I learned that phrase from that intern. And you finally said to Carrie, you've got to talk to her. I can't. That's like inappropriate, but she's got to wear different underwear to the office. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. I didn't know what to say. I felt like I couldn't say anything to her without
looking like a creepy old man.
But it wasn't like it was.
No, it was very blatant.
You saw it.
I did.
Yeah.
I probably was jealous of it, maybe in some degree, as I'm this big pregnant body sitting down there.
So, what's one decision I made behind the scenes that you never told me you disagreed with?
In the early years or anytime?
Early years. I know what it was later.
Early years. I don't think it was like a standalone decision, but it was, and now I understand that it was, maybe I'm telling myself this, a requirement, but the amount of hours you worked, the amount of time that it took. And that was very difficult when the kids were little.
Yeah, I remember, it was a couple of years before we went on a summer vacation. I remember I only agreed to go if I could go to the coffee shop in the morning and work, and then I would come.
You're painting yourself bad there. We had already had a big family trip scheduled for August. It was going to family camp with my whole family. That's right. And then we got the opportunity. Someone invited us to join them because someone else had canceled, and they had a place in South Haven, and they asked us to come and take over that place.
Yeah, South Haven.
A few weeks prior to that.
Yeah, South Haven, Michigan, on Lake Michigan. Yeah. One of the best vacations ever.
And I told you, in no uncertain terms, I wanted to go. And you said the only way you could go is if you worked a majority of the time. But we worked it out.
Yeah.
I wasn't angry about that.
No, I think I
benefited. I got to work. Because at that time I was pregnant with Ava. So we had 3 kids under 4, and I was pregnant.
Yeah, if I remember it, I'd come home, bring Quinn in, feed him, let him put him down for a nap, and watch Tour de France.
And you were still working too. No, yeah.
No, I don't think so.
And then you would bring him out for the rest of the day.
Yeah, and that was great.
In the afternoon.
Yeah. So
remember he didn't know how to walk yet. He'd sit on the beach and he'd crawl around, and every time we looked at him, he was sucking on cigarette butts.
he somehow found every cigarette butt on the beach. It was super gross.
But no, that was just the amount of time.
Yeah.
Were you making the conscious decision at that time to say, I need to work like this? I like to work like this. What was that drive? Because I know I questioned you because and I think I've said this before, so I don't want to be a broken record. My dad, owning his own business my whole life, was home at 5 o'clock, no later, any day, ever. So, granted, different business, but I remember just thinking, I didn't understand. You're the boss, you're the owner. Why do you have to keep working?
Yeah, I remember a lot of people would say that to me. Okay, you're an owner, you're probably playing golf or you're taking naps or whatever else. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I think there's a couple things there. One, our business, unlike your dad's, for example, like being in the creative business, and I've used this example before with you. If you're designing a logo, it could literally take an hour or it could take days or even weeks, depending on the client's feedback. There's never a for sure time frame on putting something together. Also, this is just the way I'm designed, and I'm grateful for it now. But at times when we were younger, I really didn't love it. Everything I saw designed, like we'd go to a restaurant. Remember how upset I get if the menus were poorly typeset, or now I just chuckle at them.
Oh, the kerning is off on this. I can't sit here any longer.
But everything I saw, I probably took it way too serious because I really wanted to make my mark in the industry.
And in this industry, you had a strong desire to be well known. And that started in Arizona. You were on AIGA boards. You would go on any board you could.
Yeah.
And
I'm not denying the ego part of it at all. I also felt,
you here,
but I also felt from the marketing standpoint, how can I accelerate from where we were to the clients we wanted? What could I do to get our name out there? And so I think part of my challenge, especially early on, was what is enough? Like how much was enough work? That's one of the things that I know we talked about later as we grew. What was the right size? What type of work was enough? And that was really challenging for me because I didn't quite know. I think there was an equal amount of fear and wanting to be successful / ego. And also just the excitement to be an entrepreneur. Like all those things are present at one time. Of could I work with you to build something that was successful, well known? These are all things that were important to me at the time. And they're not unimportant to me now. They're just not as important to me as they were then. And so I think early on, I just told myself, if we fail, it's not going to be because I didn't work hard.
See, I never thought we would fail. I had more times where I was like, let's close the damn doors. I wasn't thinking we would fail. That really never entered my framework. And equally, with hindsight, we didn't have the right understanding of the numbers to guide us like we do now or would now, to know what kind of revenue we need to support this many staff. And
yeah, I think one of the things that we decided when we signed the contract is I was going to, and again, this is probably an unfair stereotype, but there was a lot of creatives that I knew had started agencies back then, just weren't great business people. And I knew that there are certain parts of the business I was really good at, and there were certain parts of the business that I wasn't good at and or didn't care to be good at, which was not super responsible, obviously.
You didn't want to worry about the money.
Yeah, for sure. I always felt it, especially when I knew we were slow. But my point is, I feel I was smart enough to surround myself with great people. With that said, I should have leaned into understanding the way the business operated even more versus just being worried about sales and culture. Although very important, there was more to it than that.
Yes, we've both learned, which we wouldn't have the wisdom or experience we have now without going through all of that.
True. So the year ends. We have a couple employees. We have interns going in and out. We have employees waking our kids up or bringing our kids in from napping. And you tell me it's time to go.
Yeah, I said, now you need to leave the house. This is too much.
And I remember I find this diamond of an office in Geneva that is somehow super cost effective. And we moved the business there. And that was a really nice chapter of a couple of years of just really incredible team. We did some of our best work then. It felt like in a lot of ways we really took a jump at that point. And you were still part of the business. It felt pretty equal. It felt easier to manage back then.
There was only managing 5 people.
Yeah.
And I came in 2 full days, which is what I did a majority of the time. I was able to do what needed to be done. But I was there, got there, it'd be 9, dropped the kids at school, and I would have my head down, working the entire time. And then I would go home. And I was able to turn it off when I had to go, when I went home.
Yes, you were. You were great at that.
I don't know if I was great. It's just, you can't really bring home invoices.
So then a number of years go by. We get to the point where we're bursting at the seams in that office. And so we go to our landlord and see if we can expand the office because it was a beautiful old office and we could have had a great space, but he wanted us to pay for the build out. And that cost was really as much or more than us putting a down payment on our own office, which is what we did. Do you remember what year that was?
Oh, wait.
Oh, wait.
That was another stage of, we bought an old 100-plus-year-old house, converted it, had been converted into kind of an office, but it was still too flat. So we took those first few months and renovated it into a very cool office space.
Yeah, I love that old farmhouse. That was great.
I'm glad we don't own it anymore, though.
Yeah, there was the fact that it was 118 years old, the basement wasn't really concrete. There was like an inch thick of concrete. The pipes had wraps on it to heat them in the winter. We had sewage backup. We had a tree fall in our house. There's just lots of things to worry about. But I did love the space.
Space was great. And it had a kitchen. It really had a great feel. I think it was a attractor to employees because it was a good place. And back pre-COVID, when you actually met face-to-face with your clients, I think we were able to sell ourselves maybe even a little beyond our our skis because of our office was so cool. Yeah,
the office definitely helped us close deals. And we had some great clients that we did trade out for some great Herman Miller furniture. And one of the stories we didn't share when we were at our house, one of our good friends started a construction business. And we did trade out for his brand and website. He built our office at the house, which ended up helping us sell the house for more money, which was great. And then he also helped do the renovation of the office. So
that is one thing you've always been really stellar at, is leveraging, and I don't mean this in any, leveraging relationships for a win-win for both people involved. When it came to getting the business a little farther and helping out a friend, you were able to really use that to get us probably farther down the path faster. And you just had some really interesting people in your life. When you think about all of the collaborative projects that we got to do early in Rule29's life that were big, huge. Looking back, we were doing them one after another, and now we can't do them at all. Like the Cato book and the wine book and the calendar.
I remember we got a call to do the American Red Cross 125th anniversary book that they were going to sell or have as a major milestone for the organization. And the guy said, "Hey, I'm just going to shoot these things with my disposable camera." Literally said that. And I remember we were able to squeak out a budget and have our friend Brian shoot it. And we flew to DC and it was crazy.
When he's saying we, it's him.
Yeah. It's Brian and I. Brian and I flew to DC and we were in the archives, just him and I, for a couple of days. And it was.
Did you do it over a weekend, a Saturday and a Sunday?
Yeah, it was closed. And they said we could do it then. And I remember there was a painting they got that was estimated at $1 million+ or something. I can't remember. And I was opening up the box and I almost put a nail through it. And I remember, just crazy stories like that where we were able to do a bunch of interesting things. So I'm totally grateful for that. And I think that that relationship where we'd have these projects and then we'd sit down with someone. And I think this is part of how business should be done. If you really want to work with someone and there's opportunities for you both, then figure it out. That's one of the things that we had a conversation the other day with a client who called and said, we really want to work with you. You guys are a little bit over our budget, not a lot, but just a little bit. We want to commit to you guys for a long time. Can we work this out? And I was like, of course we can. And they were honoring us. They value what we do and vice versa. And so I think the personal side, the relationship side is something I've always really liked.
And you also were very big on collaboration, even within the industry, which is not common. A lot of people had more of a scarcity mindset. There's not enough work out there for all of us. I need to fight for this. And you broke down some barriers about what you can accomplish by collaborating that were not common knowledge or common practice back then.
Well, thank you for that. I believe then and I believe now that there's more than enough work for everybody, and good people should work with good people.
I think you like selfishly, you really just wanted to work with some cool people, and you'd be like, what's the worst they can say? No. So you would just ask.
For sure. That's part of it. And you would be surprised how often people would say yes.
They had all those amazing artists you got to work with you on that. Was that the calendar?
Yeah. Yeah.
I had no appreciation for.
In fact, I think you made fun of me most of the time about how excited I got.
I tended to do that a lot. I apologize. That wasn't very kind or supportive.
That's okay. I thought it was funny.
I don't think you did.
I didn't actually. So what's one business skill that's made our marriage better?
Ooh. I would say a business skill. Delegation.
Okay.
What's one marriage lesson that has made us better business owners?
I think for me, one of the things I learned from you is I like to get an answer right away and just move on. And you have taught me to be present, to be patient, and to listen and realize that the answer doesn't have to come right away. And that's helped in business too, where younger Justin would keep pushing until you get an answer, where I don't have that need to do that anymore.
There you have it. If we ever start something again together, what do you think we should do or would do differently?
We should start a podcast.
You're so smart.
I think the thing that I've learned, whether it's you and I or anyone else, if you're starting something with someone, you should do different things. You should own different parts of it so you can truly own it and also collaborate and get opinions. So I feel that would be something that I don't know if I would do differently. I would take that lesson from Rule29 and apply it. So what was the best part of being our own bosses and what was the worst?
The best part of being your own boss is more so for me than you, because I was siloed in a specific, I was back of house. So I had a lot more control over my schedule, a lot more. I could really craft my days to be exactly what I needed them to be, because I didn't have to be. At the end, I was more in client-facing meetings when I was nearing the end of my tenure at Rule29. But for a majority of the time, I was just taking care of the internal clients and communicating with clients, but I was rarely client-facing. So I could really control my day. And the worst part was the stress of support, like the payroll of we have to make sure we have this money every 2 weeks to support these families. And that's a big lift. That was a big lift.
Yeah, I remember when we were at our biggest, I was sitting down thinking, gosh, we're responsible for all these families and all these careers. And I was equal parts super proud of that and also anxious about letting them down.
It's a pressure that I think I could handle. I don't want to handle ever again.
Yeah. Of that size.
of that size. No, there's just nothing in me that has that. Do you think we showed our kids something valuable or something stressful with owning?
When we asked Ava, when we interviewed her, I'm looking forward to seeing what the kids say. I believe they definitely have seen us stressed, and whether they realize it or not, I believe a lot of they probably reap the rewards of our having a business more than anyone. From vacations to tickets to like Ava, when she turned 13, she was a huge Golden State Warrior fan. One of my clients, Larry Harper, he's amazing. Good Tidings Foundation found that out, wanted us to come out and see him. So we went out to see him, and he got us floor seats at the Golden State Warriors game where she got to do the shoot around and see Kevin Durant.
A mock ring of their
Got a mock championship ring, got her some
Klay Thompson signed shoes.
Yeah, it was just crazy.
She really benefited the most of all. No, I shouldn't say that. She took advantage of it the most.
And one of the things that I did that I thought was fun, and originally I did it because I was missing the family, and then it ended up being a really great thing, is I would try to take a child a year on a business trip. And it didn't work out always that it took one a year, but for several years, I know Mackenzie and Jackson went with me on a bunch of trips. And then Ava and Quinn did a few to Arizona.
Quinn went with us to Florida once when he was 4. Right. Remember? He had.
And I did that talk.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Remember that talk? You guys, it was the biggest conference I ever spoke at.
I don't remember that.
Oh my gosh. It was a 800-person room and 5 people showed up.
I don't remember that at all.
Oh my gosh. We won all these awards.
That's not a slap in the face.
Qualified. And I remember I went there and I just said, I'm going to give these 5 people the best talk they ever had.
I just remember just soaking up being with Quinn alone because he was.
Yeah, I don't think you went to my talk.
I couldn't. I had. No, I did not. I would remember that.
All right. You want to do some quick fires?
Sure.
All right. One word to describe our early years at Rule29.
Naive.
Adventurous.
Okay. What do you miss most about working together?
There's times I think about when you come to the office and I'd hear you set your bag down and you were talking to the team. There's just something about that I really appreciated. And then when we would solve problems together, I really miss that.
In the early years of Rule29, I really played more of a mom role.
You did.
Because we had very young employees. A lot of them were first-time jobs. Like this was the first place they'd never had like a big girl or a big boy job.
Yeah. What do you miss most about working together?
I miss having a common North Star, which we have in our personal life, but professionally, a common but the reality is too, that it's funny for me to say that because we both had slightly different North Stars even when we were together at Rule29. But they supported, they were complementary.
Yeah. Yeah. What's one thing you don't miss at all?
Of working together or Rule29?
Rule29.
The financial stress. Even when things were great, even when things were like banner, nothing to worry about, I still found things to worry about.
Yeah. And that was less about business, more about you.
Completely.
Yeah. Yeah. We talked about that. I think for me, COVID, managing employees during COVID really destroyed me. There just was some unfun moments. And I learned a lot about me. I also learned a lot about others. And so I don't miss that part. Although I love having my team, right? During that time, it was brutal.
Would you ever go into business together again?
In a heartbeat.
We would do it so differently.
We would. So that's a yes.
Okay.
Is that a yes for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess so, yeah.
Okay. One word you use to describe, let me say that in plain English. One word you'd use for this next chapter.
Possibilities. What about you?
Limitless.
Limitless possibilities. Look at that.
Oh, that should be a t-shirt. As we close this episode, was there, and I'm sure, of course, the business being so much part of our marriage and life will come into stories again. And of course, we're still doing things together in different ways. Is there anything about our time together that we didn't share that you wanted to make sure we shared on this episode?
We've left a big gap of why I even left Rule 29. I left because it was time.
Yeah.
I had done everything I felt I could do at Rule 29, and I wanted something different. I wanted to see what I could do outside of Rule 29 and outside of Justin and Sarah. It wasn't inherently anything bad.
One of the things that you've always said, although I've disagreed with because I realize how important you were, like, no, Rule 29 doesn't do what it does without you. But for a long time, you didn't feel it was yours at all. It was mine, and you were just supporting that vision. And I don't agree with that, but I'm not, you feel the way you feel.
Oh, I certainly felt that way. And again, it's because, like, I've used the metaphor front of house, back of house before. You were the face, and I was the behind the scenes, which I crafted it to be that way because that is what I wanted, which is interesting now because now I have much more of a desire to be out front.
Yeah.
In what I'm doing.
You should be out front.
But I didn't see a space or a world where at Rule 29 I could be out front because that wasn't my skill set of what the front job is.
But do you remember when we spoke together at a big conference, AIJ conference, and we gave a talk, and you and I thought, wow, no one's going to let this talk. And then we had so many people come to us and talk about everything from the projection list you made to everything else.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun.
I enjoyed that because I just felt as though I was running this small little business. One of your most hated phrase, a boutique design firm.
I know. I hate that phrase.
I know. But we were doing things really well for a long while.
Yeah. We talked about a bunch of different projects that we've done over the years, and we've done some huge projects. Was there ever a project or something that I worked on that you resented or just didn't love that we did?
I don't know if I would describe it as resentful. It's probably going to sound that way. But you, through, and this could be a whole episode in itself, got connected with a non-for-profit to start doing work to raise money for clean water, sanitation, and education in Africa.
Life Water.
And you and Brian and Tony and many started this non-for-profit Wheels for Water. And it was supposed to be a one-off year project that became huge. And it ended up, I looked at it from a business standpoint that it was not making us money. Now, in hindsight, I know that's not accurate because it became this massive marketing engine for you. But I wanted you to show me the metrics. Like, what job did we get from this? You have to back up the hours and the manpower and the emotional toll because you were so invested in that project.
Yeah, so a quick snapshot is Wheels for Water was a program where we decided the first year I was going to give a talk in Boston about making a difference in the world. And from Boston...
Design for Good was born.
Design for Good, yeah. Yeah, we were going to ride our bikes from Boston to Chicago, which was 1,207 miles, but we needed to ride 1,000 miles because for $40, you could bring someone sanitation training and water for life. And so we needed to raise 40 grand. So we were going to ride our bikes. So I went through this whole transformation physically because I had never ridden that far. We had to ride 100 miles a day. We ended up doing the ride. We ended up creating, almost 1 million impressions. And we raised up.
This is well before digital marketing had the analytics. So you were just going off success of raising the money and getting the word out there.
But we had schools like Notre Dame supported us and promoted us, and almost every state we went through, we got coverage. And
to frame it, when Justin takes on a project like this, it is all in. Like, this was all in. And so you were doing this massive diet which took a lot of focus and energy to stay on, and a lot of the time you wouldn't even eat dinner at the dinner table with us because you were doing a very strict, so you were taken away from the family there. Plus it was all this time planning the event, and you were also super energized.
And I was riding hours a day on a bike.
Hours. Yeah. And then if the weather was bad, you were down in the basement on the rollers for hours. And at this time, the first ride was in 14?
14.
That was when we were living here. That was here?
Matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But regardless, the kids were little, the kids were busy. And I was trying to get you to rationalize to me why this was a good project while all this was happening.
Yeah, and for me, I didn't know if we could raise the 40,000, so I was stressed out about that. I didn't want to lose that opportunity. And then we used our digital marketing capabilities to raise awareness and advocacy, and it just started growing like crazy, and it took a lot of time up. And like I said, we raised, I think it was 160,000 instead of 40, and it did so well for the organization. They asked us to do it. We did it for 4 or 5 more years. We ended up raising over $1 million, which was great. Not me, but a group of people.
Yeah.
And some incredible things happened for the company. Fast Company gave us an award. We were invited to the Obama White House to talk to other do-gooders. So there's a lot of things that happen for me personally and for the company. But in hindsight, man, I was on the road speaking, talking, writing, or in Africa.
Oh, yeah. That's another big part of it. You would go on trips that were 10 days to 2 weeks in Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like I sound like when I'm saying this out loud, I feel a little bit not ashamed because I just thinking like maybe I was making a bigger deal out of it, but to frame it in this, and I don't know if you've ever known this, but the last day of the ride, I joined you the first year.
Oh, yeah.
And we rode 100 miles that day, 92, actually. And we finished it at this great location. What was that place called? The something biking
the
thing.
Velodrome.
Velodrome.
Yeah.
I was going to get there eventually.
Yeah.
And you were up front with Tony and Brian and Justin, and you were presenting the final numbers, and you thanked like 50 people, and you didn't thank me. And I was freaking hot. I was so pissed. I never told you. It's only been like 15 years since then.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
But that was one of the first times
Hold on.
I don't want to have a therapy session on the podcast.
I'm not giving you a therapy session. I'm just telling you I'm sorry. That was not right. I'm very sorry.
Thank you.
Because the one thing that you said to me that has always stuck out, and that this is true, is I remember one time we had an argument, and you said you don't even think whether or not you should do these things. You just assume you can do them. And
you were very much of the mindset, which you wouldn't have described at the time, of you'd rather ask for forgiveness than permission.
Yes, I don't think that was a conscious decision, but definitely subconsciously for sure. And I owed you way more than a thank you for that one.
But I didn't understand even how to describe that till someone, it was early days of Facebook, and someone put something up about it and was just singing your praises about the amazing this, which it all was true. And one of my friends commented on, she's more of an adjacent friend, not one of my besties. She said, "Hey, Sarah, I hope you realize that Justin couldn't have done any of this without you doing what you do at home and at work." And I was like, hell yeah, that's right.
It's true. It's true.
So
true. You should have been the first one I thanked.
But regardless, it wasn't just about that moment of not being thanked. It was the starting of the solidification of what can I do outside of Rule 29? Because I really did feel like a coattail rider there. Like I said, it a gift with purchase. Like you get Justin, and then Sarah tags along.
Which, again, I don't want to squash your feelings, but to me, that's ridiculous.
But no, like looking back at it now, I know that. But in the moment,
that's how you felt.
That's how I felt. And that's probably started my, not forefront of my brain, but started the gears turning of what could I do.
I'm happy to be your coattail person from now on.
Yeah, I'm just leading the charge. So I thought leaving Rule 29 would be freeing, and it was. But it was also painful because I felt like I was walking away from history, from what I had helped create, and from part of us.
Yeah, I guess I've never shared this with you until now, but I'm not going to say equal parts excited for you and equal parts sad. I think I was more selfishly sad for me because you've just always been a force for me. I know that we have each other's back blindly, and I know that when you disagree with me, you will disagree with me. And
Really?
Yes. And that's a really valuable thing, which makes us just great partners in life. But I, of course, stayed, and Rule29's continued to evolve. But it isn't the same, and it shouldn't be, right? Because we're both still growing, and we're just doing it in different fields now.
Very much. But everything I'm able to experience in my new working world is been colored and led and has I gleaned so much from those years at Rule29 in so many aspects. So I'm very grateful for all of that and for what Rule29 provided for our family, provided for us, and all that we learned, all that we learned what to do, what not to do.
So finish the sentence. You'll always be proud that we
worked together successfully for over 2 decades, and we created something memorable. And you?
will always be proud that we built an incredible business together that is still around and thriving and growing. Extremely proud of how many people's careers we helped start.
That's so very true.
We had over
I would love to do like a visual of all of our interns and
we had 45 plus interns and I don't know how many employees. And one of the things I think about all the time is we have helped touch, change, enhance hundreds of thousands of lives of projects and organizations that we've worked with and helped them be successful out in the world, serving others. To be a small part of that work is just so gratifying.
Very much, very much.
All right, let's wrap this thing up.
Like a present, wrapped up. Please tell me that was recorded. Thanks so much for joining us on this episode of Running Ahrens. We truly love having these conversations and sharing them with all of you.
If something resonated with you today, we'd be so grateful if you'd rate and review the show. It helps more people find us.
And if you know someone who'd connect with this episode, send it their way. You never know who might just need to hear it.
We'd also love to hear from you, your feedback, your stories, or even topics you'd like us to tackle next.
You can connect with us on our personal socials, the show's Facebook page, or through the website, runningahrens.today. And links are always in the show notes.
Until next time, keep showing up, stay kind, and remember,
life's the long run, and the best way forward is together.